Charles Darwin, who died on this day in 1882, once wrote to a colleague that he was becoming very much amused by his tendrils. And what he was referring to was some cucumber plants, which he had growing by the windowsill, on the windowsill of his bedroom in Down House, where he was living just south of Orpington in Kent. And he was becoming amused by them because there wasn't much else to amuse him. He was being ill. His second half of his life, he was constantly ill with palpitations and heart problems and vomiting. And it was never discovered quite what was causing the problem. But on this occasion, it was quite an extended period of illness, and he had just to stay in his room, resting, and to relieve the boredom, he would watch these cucumber plants growing enormously slowly. And one biographer points out that Darwin had to slow down the pace of his life, partly to get himself better, but of course also to match the slowness of the growth of the cucumbers. That somehow by putting his own life in the same rhythm as what he was studying, gave him an insight into their development. And indeed he wrote a paper about the way in which climbing plants develop as a result of this time of sickness. He had, of course, travelled for many thousands of miles earlier in his life in the 1830s, in HMS Beagle, of course, a 5-year voyage to the coasts of South America, and brought back not only a journal which made him famous, but also lots of research, and of course eventually on the origin of species became his most famous work. But what I was encouraged by today was that it wasn't through his very extensive travels or the speed at which most of his life was lived, going from meeting to meeting, writing paper after paper, doing a bit of scientific research after scientific research. It wasn't that speed which, on this occasion, led to the insights that he had about growing tendrils. It was slowing right down and noticing what was in his own bedroom. And I sometimes think that we might go hurrying around, we might go searching all over the place, but if we sometimes just slow down, voluntarily I hope, but maybe sometimes we have to, and open our eyes to what's just around us, and there is still lots to discover that we might miss if we just get on busily travelling and doing.